Didn't even hear the note get taped to my mailbox. But there it was, flapping in the wind like a smug little flag of war. Dear resident, please be advised that the cul-de-sac will be occupied on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. for a private community celebration. Kindly do not schedule any events that require driveway access during this time. HOA Social Chair, Karen Wentworth. No signature. No number to call. Just a passive-aggressive decree taped to every home in our suburban circle. My name's Daniel Ortiz. Divorced dad. Graphic designer. Proud owner of lot number 18 in Cedar Hollow, a sleepy, rule-obsessed neighborhood where lawn heights are inspected more often than fire alarms. My son, Max, was turning 10 on Saturday, and I had something special lined up for him. A wood-fired pizza truck. He'd been begging for it for months. I booked it 2 months in advance, got approval from the HOA secretary, even paid a community impact fee Karen herself had implemented last spring. I dotted every I, crossed every bureaucratic T, which is why her note hit like a sucker punch. I sent her a quick, courteous text. Hi Karen, just wanted to check in. I've got a pizza truck arriving at 1 p.m. Saturday for Max's birthday. It's been cleared and scheduled with the board. Just making sure there's no overlap. Hours passed. No reply. That was Karen. If control were a currency, she'd be the richest woman in the county. She didn't just enforce HOA rules, she rewrote them mid-meeting. And if she saw an opportunity to assert dominance, she pounced like a hawk spotting a field mouse with a slightly faded mailbox flag. I hoped it was just a scheduling mix-up. Saturday arrived bright and mild. I was stringing balloons along the hedge when I saw the first delivery van lurch into the cul-de-sac, one of those oversized box trucks with chrome accents and a vanity plate that read K8 Ring. The driver rolled down the window and waved as if this were his turf. He stopped directly in front of my driveway. I jogged over. Hey, this spot's reserved. I've got a food truck coming. He blinked. Boss said to park here. We're setting up catering for the wedding. The what? And then she appeared. Karen Wentworth, in all her glory. Blonde bob perfectly sculpted, beige linen pantsuit crisp as parchment, and a clipboard clutched like a sword. She strolled across the lawn like she owned every blade of grass. Daniel, she chirped. I left a note earlier this week. Today's my daughter's wedding reception. We'll need full access to the circle for vendors. I tried not to grit my teeth. I've got a pizza truck arriving in less than an hour. For Max's birthday. It was cleared with the HOA. Karen's smile tightened. Unfortunately, your event wasn't listed on the master calendar. The reception's been in motion for months. You really should have confirmed with me personally. I stepped closer, keeping my voice level. Karen, this is my driveway. You can't block access. This is a 10-year-old's birthday, not some black tie gala. Oh, but it is, she said, sweeping her hand toward a gazebo now being assembled across the lawn. And it's not about the driveway. It's about the community atmosphere. You'll find another solution, I'm sure. She turned before I could answer, already barking orders to a florist. Max appeared behind me, clutching a stack of party hats. Is the pizza truck coming soon? I glanced at the blockade of trucks, crates, and servers forming a logistical fortress across our cul-de-sac. My heart sank. Yeah, buddy, I said quietly. Just a little delay. Karen's laughter rang out from across the lawn, effortless and piercing. That's when I realized this wasn't disorganization. It was deliberate. Calculated. Karen hadn't forgotten about Max's party. She just didn't care. And that was the moment something shifted inside me. Not anger, not quite. Something colder. Quieter. A resolve that, if she wanted a turf war, she picked the wrong driveway. Max deserved better than being sidelined by a woman obsessed with optics and control. And Karen? She was about to find out what happens when you block the wrong dad's driveway. Chef Tito's pizza truck rumbled into view at exactly 12:58 p.m., just as promised. Bright red with flames painted along the sides, it was everything Max had dreamed of, like a food-fueled spaceship from his imagination. Inside, Tito himself wore his signature white cap and oven mitts, already stoking the wood-fired blaze like a culinary sorcerer preparing for battle. but the truck couldn't turn in. Two catering vans now boxed in my driveway. One had its rear doors swung wide open, blocking the curb, while the other had parked at a deliberate angle, as if daring anyone to challenge its position. White uniformed staff bustled around, offloading silver trays of smoked salmon, finger sandwiches, and cucumber water. I waved Tito down and jogged up to the van drivers. "You're in my driveway. I've got a food truck scheduled." One of them, a wiry guy with sunglasses and Bluetooth earpiece, barely looked at me. "We were told this was off-limits today. Part of the wedding zone." "By who?" He pointed lazily toward the white lattice gazebo, now fully assembled. Karen stood beneath it, orchestrating table placements with a flourish. She wore a giant sun hat now, her clipboard replaced with a flute of something sparkling. Her daughter, the bride, looked uncomfortable, already sweating under her makeup and trying not to trip on the AstroTurf aisle runner someone had laid across the lawn. I marched up. Karen moved the vans. She took a long sip and tilted her head. "I really can't ask them to disrupt the flow. We're on a schedule. The hors d'oeuvres need refrigeration. So does my pizza truck. Surely you can reschedule. It's a birthday party." Karen let out a laugh, dry as gravel. "And this is a wedding. One of these things is slightly more important." I leaned closer, my voice low and tight. "You're violating HOA guidelines by blocking residential access." I followed the process. I got approvals. You did none of that. "Oh, Daniel." She patted my arm like I was a confused child. "You'll find that in neighborhoods like ours, process isn't everything. Presentation matters." The arrogance in her tone snapped something inside me. Not rage, but calculation. This wasn't just a power grab. It was a message. She controlled the HOA, the neighborhood, the very rhythm of our weekends. But I wouldn't let her set the tempo. I turned to Tito. "Park 2 doors down at the Jennings place. I'll get the kids there." He gave me a thumbs up and rolled away. For the next 20 minutes, I turned into a one-man party rescue unit. Tables, chairs, balloons, everything got moved down the block. Parents looked confused. Kids dragged party bags past champagne flutes and floral archways. Max stayed quiet through it all. I caught him watching Karen's party from the curb, eyes fixed on the neatly arranged white chairs and towering cake. I knelt beside him. "I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't know she'd do this." He forced a smile. "It's okay, Dad. At least we still get pizza, right?" I nodded, throat tight. But it wasn't okay. His party was supposed to be fun, free, joyful. Instead, it had turned into a logistical mess with the feel of a corporate merger. And Karen? She watched it all unfold from her throne of roses, never once acknowledging the chaos she'd caused. In fact, she looked pleased, like this was all part of her plan. Later, after the pizza had been eaten and the guests trickled home, I stood outside my house and watched her wedding reception roar on. A live band was setting up on the greenbelt. Wine flowed. Guests danced. Laughter echoed into the twilight. Max had fallen asleep on the couch, party hat still on, his gift pile unopened. I didn't feel defeated. I felt focused. Karen had crossed a line. Not just with me, but with the neighborhood, hijacking a public space for a private pageant, sabotaging a kid's birthday for the sake of optics. I'd followed every rule. Now it was time to find every one she'd broken. By Sunday morning, the wedding detritus still littered the cul-de-sac, streamers half-hanging from trees, half-eaten cake abandoned under folding tables, and empty champagne flutes balanced on every available surface. Karen's crew hadn't lifted a finger, but I had. While she was still nursing mimosas and compliments, I was in my garage, digging through HOA meeting minutes, policy binders, and digital archives I'd saved for my short, miserable tenure on the neighborhood's architectural review board. Max was still asleep, but I could hear the quiet hum of his sound machine upstairs. Our weekend ruined, our party rerouted. I'd smiled for him yesterday. Today, I was smiling for me. It took 2 hours to find what I needed. Karen's so-called community celebration hadn't been logged in the board's monthly schedule. No permits, no street use application, no insurance rider. She hadn't even filed the required noise ordinance waiver for amplified music after dusk. She thought she was untouchable because she was the HOA. But I had a PDF with her signature from 3 years ago when she fined an elderly couple $400 for a 15-person retirement party that overburdened shared space. That couple had moved out the following month. And now, she'd hosted an unapproved 60-person wedding that blocked a public road, commandeered private driveways, and destroyed a 10-year-old's birthday. I called Eddie, the HOA secretary, and an old friend from college who'd taken the job mostly for the free pool access. "Got a minute?" I asked. "For bringing down the Ice Queen?" "I've got all the minutes you need." I forwarded him photos, catering trucks, blocked driveways, empty champagne bottles, her monogrammed gazebo on the greenbelt. He whistled low. "She didn't submit a single form." "Not one," I said. "And she obstructed a scheduled, board-approved event. I've got the email chain. Time-stamped." Eddie chuckled. "You want to bring this to the board?" "I want a full hearing. Open. On record."
Done.
"I'll call an emergency meeting for Tuesday night." By Monday, word had spread. The Jennings, who'd let me use their driveway, were furious. Karen's band had kept their infant up half the night. The Wuss, 3 doors down, discovered spilled wine and cigarette burns on their lawn. Even stoic old Mr. Lambert had something to say after finding a stranger's heel embedded in his freshly seeded flower bed. But Karen? She strutted around like she'd hosted the royal wedding. If she noticed the whispers, the glares, she didn't show it. Tuesday night came fast. The HOA meetings were usually sleepy affairs, half the seats empty, minutes spent arguing about mailbox paint codes. But that night, the clubhouse overflowed. Folding chairs were pulled from closets. Residents leaned against walls. Phones hovered in the air, recording. Karen sat at the head of the long table in her usual seat, clipboard ready, expression bored. Until Eddie cleared his throat. "Before we start tonight's agenda, we have an emergency motion brought forth by a resident regarding misuse of HOA common space, obstruction of scheduled events, and unauthorized gatherings." Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" Eddie tapped the mic. "Daniel Ortiz has the floor." I stood, holding a manila folder in one hand and Max's pizza truck receipt in the other. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I laid it out piece by piece. The blocked driveway, the pizza truck detour, the wedding vendors occupying the cul-de-sac, the photos, the noise, the damage, the missing paperwork, and most damning of all, Karen's own previous rulings that directly contradicted her actions. I ended with a line she'd written herself in a 2022 enforcement memo. "No resident, regardless of title, is above community policy. Consistency maintains credibility." Silence. Then murmurs.
Nods.
Even a few claps. Karen stood, face flushed. "This is a personal attack. I've served this community for 6 years." "You served yourself," someone called out from the back. "And blocked my driveway." "This isn't how we handle internal matters," she snapped. "On the contrary," Eddie said, flipping through her own bylaws, "it's exactly how we handle them." He motioned to the board. All in favor of censuring the chair and revoking her authority to schedule community events pending further review? Hands shot up. Karen stared around the room, stunned. Her fortress of control was crumbling, brick by brick. But I didn't gloat. I turned to the crowd. "Max just wanted pizza. That's it. No kid should have to pay the price for an adult's ego." That landed. As I stepped down, Eddie whispered, "You just cracked the crown." I gave him a nod. But I wasn't finished yet. Karen didn't show her face for the rest of the week. The once ever-present HOA president, who used to parade past our porches like she was royalty inspecting her lands, was now behind shuttered blinds. Her meticulously manicured lawn went unmowed. Her morning walks vanished. And her inbox? Lit up with complaint after complaint. But I wasn't done. See, HOA consequences are slow and procedural. Fines. Hearings. Policy rewrites. But justice? Justice moves how it wants. And sometimes it smells like mozzarella and revenge. That Friday, I made a few calls. Tito was happy to help. Another pizza party? Say less, Hermano. I'll fire up the truck. I smiled. Same place. Same time. But let's go bigger. I also called the Jennings, the Wuss, Mr. Lambert, and every parent whose kid had missed out on Max's original birthday party. We're doing it again. No HOA approvals this time. It's a community appreciation night. By sunset, the cul-de-sac was transformed, not by rules, but by unity. Folding chairs lined the sidewalks. Kids darted across lawns with glow sticks and face paint. A bubble machine whirred outside the Wuss garage. The pizza truck parked squarely in front of my driveway, flames roaring, music bumping. Tito was tossing dough in the air like a Broadway performer. Max wore a fresh party hat and a grin that stretched ear to ear. And Karen? Oh, she came out. Drawn by the noise, or maybe the smell, she peeked from her porch like a mole emerging into sunlight. Her face was puffy, her hair tied back. She stood frozen as Max ran by her lawn, laughing with two kids, a slice of pepperoni in one hand, his other holding a giant balloon sword. Then she crossed the street. The laughter softened. Parents hushed. Tito turned the music down just enough to make the moment audible. I hope you have a permit for this, Karen said coldly, arms crossed. I took a bite of pizza, savoring it before replying. Nope. But I do have this. I pulled out a laminated sign and stuck it in the grass beside the truck. It read, Bylaws Section 14.3. Any spontaneous neighborhood gathering under 25 cars and under 75 decibels requires no written approval.
Her eye twitched.
And just in case you're wondering, I added, we're at 72.8 decibels and Tito's parked entirely within my legal easement. Checked it twice. She stared at me like she wanted to melt me with her eyeballs. You think this makes you the hero? No, I said, handing Max another slice. But it makes me a dad who didn't back down. Karen turned without another word. She stormed back toward her house, heels clicking like angry metronomes. A stray balloon dog smacked her ankle. She kicked it away. As she disappeared inside, a slow clap rose from Mr. Lambert's porch. Others joined. Before long, the whole block erupted into applause. Not for me, at least not just, but for what the moment stood for. That night, the board held another emergency vote. Karen was officially suspended from all HOA leadership roles pending ethics review and community feedback. Eddie nominated me to serve as interim chair. I declined. I'm not here to run things, I said. I just want to make sure nobody else steamrolls a 10-year-old's birthday again. Instead, we formed a rotating neighborhood committee with shared responsibilities and open voting. It was clunky,
Messy.
but it was fair. Later that night, as the crowd dwindled and Tito packed up, Max tugged my sleeve.
Dad.
Yeah, buddy. Can we have a pizza party every year? Like, instead of cake. I knelt beside him. Every single year. He grinned, grease on his cheeks, eyes glowing. And as we walked back to the house under the string lights and soft laughter, I glanced once more at Karen's window. Still dark. Because sometimes the best kind of justice isn't loud or cruel. Sometimes it's quiet, served warm, and best enjoyed with extra cheese.